this has been a great summer already for horror movies. People are figuring out how great horror movies are, and there's exciting ones coming out all the time. And this Longlegs movie is one that I was very, very pumped about. It had one of the better marketing campaigns that I've seen for a horror movie in quite some time. It seemed like somebody went to the Rob Fee, Bray Wyatt school of marketing for this thing, because weeks before the movie would come out, there would just be like a billboard, and it would be like a zoomed in photo that you couldn't quite make out, but it looked pretty creepy. And then a phone number would be on it, on the billboard. And so you call the phone number, and it was this recording of Nicolas Cage, who plays Longlegs, who's like ridiculous creepy. He's so good right now. But Nicolas Cage like saying something creepy into a voicemail, or there'd be little like Instagram reels that would come out that didn't tell you anything about the movie, but it would be all this creepy imagery and stuff like that. People found websites, because this is about a serial killer, and people would find websites that had all this data, newspaper articles, facts, all this stuff about all the cases that are featured in this movie, which I thought was brilliant. The early word about it was that it's like the best sort of horror / detective thriller since Silence of the Lambs, which is big. And I understand the comparison. So I'm going into this movie thinking, okay, I love Silence of the Lambs. I love Seven, right? Those kind of fit in the same genre, subgenre. And Nicolas Cage's resurgence is about the funnest thing you could ever watch. So I'm immediately down for this thing. I didn't even really, and I purposefully didn't do a ton of research going in, because it seemed like one of those movies that, as much as they're breadcrumbing you, it's kind of better to go in blind, like not knowing the full scope of what you're seeing. And I will say this, Nicolas Cage did not disappoint. He's in here. He is the titular character, Longlegs, and he's unrecognizable. They have Nicolas Cage, but he's got this insane voice that he's doing the whole time, which is so weird, creepy, somewhat hilarious, but then back to being creepy. He looks like if Michael Jackson took a bike pump to the face, remember that cat lady that was in New York City that just kept going back for plastic surgery over and over again? Mm-hmm. That, except like the back alley version of that. It didn't look like he spent a ton of money on the surgery, but it was all inflated. He had this terrible long white hair. He's got these weird outfits. It's not shocking that parallels were drawn to Buffalo Bill, just in the kind of weird, almost perverted nature of what he looked like. So I love that. But I can't put this in that category of Seven and of Silence of the Lambs, because ultimately those are movies in which, whether you like them or not, they're set in a reality that you go, these are things that could happen. This movie has far more supernatural elements than I would have expected. And I don't mind a movie with supernatural elements. I love all the Conjuring movies. They're great. Blair Witch is awesome. There's plenty of great supernatural-based scary movies. But what I have a tough time with sometimes is when they try to mesh those two worlds. Because this almost becomes a kind of a whodunit. How are we going to stop the killer? How is the killer doing this? How has he managed to keep doing this? And it's one thing if you go, we live in the real world, so as I'm watching the movie, I can think about it. It's another thing to go, also supernatural stuff is real, because now it could be anything. So it
you need to establish the rules for this kind of stuff, so you can have that kind of believability and be like, okay, this is what's. I hate it when it happens halfway through a movie.
Right, when you realize oh, this isn't just some guy who casts spells because he's nuts. The spells work, and you go, oh. Not even this is a different thing then. Oh, okay, I got to completely...
Right, you got to readjust.
Yes, I have to shift my focus entirely, which is kind of what happens here. And I think that is if there is a flaw to this movie, it's some people went in overhyped because of all the marketing, which, happens, I guess, but I didn't think that that's a negative thing. And it's that you go in with these expectations of what it is, and then it turns out to be something else, and you almost get blinded. You get distracted by the fact that it's something else, and it doesn't allow you to figure out whether you appreciate it for what it is or not. Because, to me, the mark of a movie being good and being effective is, am I still thinking about it? Do I want to see it again? And the answer to both those questions is yes with this movie. Like, I'm 100% going to see it again. I'm going to get it when it comes out on home video. I'm going to watch it a ton, I'm sure, because it's a nuts movie. The pacing of it is really interesting because there's no it's not like a jump scare type of movie. And there's this air of confusion that runs throughout where it's not the easiest thing to follow because ultimately the main character isn't fully in touch with the reality that she lives in. So when you're watching it, it becomes confusing as to your reality because obviously you're seeing through her lens. Does that make sense?
The unreliable narrator, right?
To an extent. Yeah, sure. To an extent. I think that there are a lot of religious undertones, a ton of symbolism. There's very little in this movie that I think is literal. Which, again, is one of those things that if you're looking at it literally, you go, oh, well, if that's not actually happening, I don't even understand this movie anymore. If you can get past that and go, oh, okay, let me start digging into some of this symbolism, it can actually be a lot of fun. And that's more how I felt halfway in, I was like, wait a minute. Are we dealing with spirituality and ghosts and demons and all this stuff? I didn't think we were doing that. And then 3/4 of the way in, I go, oh, so this actually means this, and this is that, and that's this. And it started to get fun for me. I liked that. But you
needed to readjust.
But I had to make the adjustment. That's exactly right. I kind of I like when those religious undertones come in. I like when the spirituality comes in. I like when
shitting on religion.
No. That's Travis. You're thinking of Travis, and I think Jim likes doing that too, but not me. Not me. No. But I kind of like it more when there's those spiritual and supernatural elements that could maybe be explained in reality, right? Even if this happened because of a supernatural force, you could understand how somebody else in this movie that knows that it happened doesn't see it that way and goes, no, this just happened because of this and that.
Yes.
Which here, it's more clearly supernatural. There's no other explanation. I think that, thematically, at the end of it, I enjoyed it because it, deals with this idea that we day to day, are working in this rigid structure of what's reality and what's not reality. This is real. I can touch it. This day-to-day life, this is real. And this other stuff is not real because I can't explain it, because I'm not perceiving it right, because it's not there. This starts to blur that line and go, is this real? Or is this not real and that real? And so when you start to think about those bigger themes, I like that, And I like that, you can rewatch this and go, oh, this is that, that's this. Because it's still by the end, they do give you an explanation. They do tell you what's been happening, how we got here, and where we are. But I still had questions as to what's this connection to that? What's that connection to this? But I don't think that's a bad thing,
Yeah. Okay. So definitely a rewatch by all that stuff for you.
For sure. Okay.
I mean,
if you interpret the dialogue. So Agent Harker is the main character, right? Harker. I listened to it multiple times. I go, is he saying Harper or Harker? Harker. Lee Harker. What kind of a name is Lee? Lee Harker is the agent's name. And it's almost like everybody that talks to her in this movie is kind of a step off of reality, right? It's she's slightly in a different dimension. from everybody else. And that can be a confusing process as you go. But then you kind of can explain it without it actually being spelled out for you right in front of your face. So this is not, to me, like a Friday night date popcorn movie. This is more like I'm a horror geek. We're doing new things. We're experimenting with stuff. Let's have a conversation about this movie type of movie.
And Friday morning.
I mean, look, it was like this. My ideal movie is, go to an early screening by myself. This is perfect for that. Because I can just sit there and think about it. I don't have to listen to anybody. Like, if I went with you, you'd be like, that was dumb. And I go, just shut up. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
my immediate response, stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, while the movie's on, you lean over. This is so dumb, dude. Like, shut up. Shut up.
I'd be like this. This would never happen in real life.
Right. Shut up. Get out of here. This isn't that movie, okay? So, you know. But if you like, and I mean, I cannot put over Nicolas Cage enough for what he did. I mean, he's nuts in this movie. Absolutely nuts. And he goes all the way. You know, like sometimes you worry that Nicolas Cage, who does so much weird stuff now, that you're like, oh, is he getting into that stage of his career where he's like, this is my rate, pay me this much money per day, and I'll do whatever. Because when you get there, it's like, are you really committing to everything that you're doing, or are you just showing up? The level of commitment this guy has to playing Longlegs is awesome. And he is so creepy and so like scary in a way that's like deeply unsettling. Not scary in a like, oh, gotcha. Scary in a like, oh, this is really like sitting with me. This really makes me feel uncomfortable. And I do think sometimes that that's a thing too. Like, there are people who love scary movies that are just traditional jump scare. Here's the monster. Final girl. We won. Let's go. Oh, that was good. But like, you know, for me, I love a movie that just leaves you feeling like desolate in your core. Like, just like, so not even like, oh, that was a fulfilling scare. Just totally unsettled and like, I don't like how I feel. I like that. And Nicolas
That was me at the end of Hereditary. What was it? No,
go ahead. You got it.
Hereditary.
Yeah, and Hereditary deals with those same like themes of, oh, I thought we were in the real world, but we're going deep into Satanism and demons and stuff like that. And that is, to me, I think Longlegs probably has more in common with Hereditary than Silence of the Lambs. So that would be the thing. I think it's really good. I thought Longlegs was really good. But don't go in looking for Seven. Don't go in looking for Silence of the Lambs. Go in looking for that sort of more, it's like a thoughtful, religious-based supernaturalism that if you think about it. Now, if you don't want to think, I mean, some people not everybody goes to a movie they want to think, right? And that's fair. Right. Sometimes you just want to like let the brain melt and let the goo come out of your eyes and ears. That's fine.
The thing, Sam, I think too much in my regular life. I kind of go to the theater to
Did you say think or nap?
Think.
Oh, okay. All right. Sure. So that's what I thought about Longlegs.